Good evening, everybody. You're watching the Just Keep Up podcast, where we're one step ahead. I'm Kurt Johnson. This is Pete Zindros. We're excited to be back to you guys here on this Thursday. We have a great show planned for you tonight. We have a lot to talk about, lots to get into. Big show, guys. No featured story tonight, as we are going to be discussing the NBA trade deadline. This has to be one of the biggest trade deadlines, if not the greatest trade deadline of all time in the NBA. We've seen mega superstars get traded. We've seen key role players get traded. We've seen players that we didn't expect to get traded. And then we saw players get traded 4 or 5 times in the span of 72 hours. So we're going to talk all about it, guys. It's going to be a massive, massive show. With in addition to that, I'm going to be giving my take specifically on the Lakers trade for them to get Luka Doncic. As you guys know, Pete did his show on, I believe it was the Sunday or the Monday. I can't remember which one, but he discussed his take on it. So I'm just going to give my stance on that as well. You guys are going to enjoy the show for today. Before we get into it, I'm going to remind you to like and subscribe, guys. Help us to impact and to reach as many people as possible, guys. With in addition to that, guys, follow me at Kurt's Philosophy on YouTube and Rumble if you are interested in the world's deepest, darkest secrets. Before we get into the show, bro, do you have anything?
No.
All right, so we're gonna jump right into it, guys. First trade we're gonna go over is the Lakers trade. The Lakers got Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. The Dallas Mavericks got Anthony Davis, Max Christie, in a 2029 first. And then Utah had to get involved because of money purposes, but they got Jalen Hood Chifino, a 2025 second, and two 2025 seconds. So before I give my take on it, can you just remind the people what your take on this trade was?
Yeah, I mean, I basically said that the Lakers won this deal. I mean, I think everybody on the planet can agree with me on that take. They won the trade, obviously. But I think for the current, the Dallas Mavericks got a little bit better than they were prior. But in my opinion, they're still not good enough to win a championship. So ultimately, they took a fat L in this deal. And I was even saying that now, in my opinion, well, prior to the Mark Williams deal, at least, I felt like the Lakers had gotten a little worse. Not saying they got worse because Anthony Davis is better than Luka. Luka's obviously better. But from a constructional roster fit, Davis offered something more than what Luka would have offered to the team at the time, right? At the time. And I was saying the Lakers need to get a center or else they should just completely rebuild and trade LeBron. However, they got a center, but we will get into that in a little bit. But that was my overall breakdown on it.
Yeah, I think that would have been a disaster if they would have done that. First of all, they couldn't even do that because LeBron James has a no trade clause. So they couldn't trade LeBron James without his permission. That's the first thing. But even if he didn't have a no trade clause, that'd still be stupid. And the reason for that is I said this right when they traded for Luka Doncic. I saw people all over the social media world saying Dallas is better this year. What? How is the Dallas Mavericks better this year by trading a guy who single handedly carried them to the postseason, to the finals 6 months ago? That's point number one. You don't get better by trading the guy who carried you to the playoffs to the finals 6 months ago. That's point number one. Point number two, you traded a guy who carried you to the finals 6 months ago for a guy who's unproven to lead a team deep into the playoffs by himself. Who did you pair him with? Another guy who hasn't proven that they can lead a team to a deep playoff run in the playoffs, being the number one option. So you paired them together. You also paired two guys together. As much as we want to say Luka's injured, two guys that are more injury prone than Luka. Point number two. Point number three. Whenever you have a generational player like Luka Doncic, like LeBron James, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like Nikola Jokic, when you have players like this, yes, the roster construction is nice, fantastic, great job. But what happens when you have to face these guys in the playoffs? a lot of times you will lose because they are a generational talent. There is nothing that you can do to stop them. We saw Luka do it 6 months ago. All of a sudden, Dallas is in the finals. Huh? No one predicted that Dallas would go to the finals. And then you look at Luka's stats, especially in the first 3 rounds, and you say, oh, that's why, because he carried them on his back, right? So you can't have it both ways. We can't acknowledge the fact that Luka carried this team to the finals 6 months ago, while simultaneously saying that that same team is going to get better by trading him. That doesn't make any sense at all, right? Another piece that people are forgetting: Dallas is the 10th seed in the Western Conference. So it's more likely that they're going to miss the postseason versus making a deep playoff run. And if you don't agree with me, we can go through the standings. I really don't see how they can work their way up too much. Like, people are saying, yeah, they're only 3 games back of the 5th seed. Sure. But you have to factor in these guys need time to play together to build the chemistry and rapport. And you also have to understand that if one of these guys gets hurt, which is probably inevitable, they're fucked. Where's the offense going to flow through if Kyrie gets hurt? Which we know is going to happen, not for an extended period of time, but let's just say he has to miss a couple weeks, which is going to happen. They're fucked. Let's say Anthony Davis has to miss a couple weeks, which is going to happen. They're fucked, right? So, which, I'm not saying they're a bad team now, but what I'm saying is you're going to fall tremendously in the Western Conference, and we know it's so tight there. That's why I said it was very important for the Lakers to keep Austin Reeves, because LeBron's going to miss time, Luka's going to miss some time. You have to have someone that's in there that can carry you and get you to wins on a night-to-night basis. And Dallas does not have that, right? They don't have a shot creator outside of Kyrie Irving. If you go look at the roster, they do not have a shot creator outside of Kyrie Irving. They don't have someone that could create shots for others besides Kyrie Irving. And that's a recipe for disaster, right? So all of those things is the reason why I thought that people saying that Dallas is more ready to win now was absolutely ludicrous. But that's point number one. Now let's talk about the Lakers. The Lakers got insanely better because, like I said again, you're trading a guy who has never proven that he can be the best player on a championship team in Anthony Davis. And I want to preference my statement by saying this. Anthony Davis is an elite player. Okay, there's no doubt about it. He's an elite player, but he is not a number one. He is not a generational talent like Luka Doncic, okay? So you replace him with Luka Doncic, with what I call an X Factor player. If you guys play video games, Madden 2K, you know what an X Factor player is. Even if your team isn't as good, when you have an X Factor player, they make up for so much, right? We all know this. So Luka just led a team to the finals 6 months ago. Now you're going to pair him with the greatest player arguably ever, but non-arguably of this generation. And you're going to tell me that a Luka-led team with LeBron James is worse than two guys that hasn't proven that they can lead a team on a deep playoff run as the number one option. How does that make sense? So with all that being said, obviously the Lakers won this trade, and not only for the future, but they won this trade because they got better now before the Mark Williams trade. Now they've gotten even better. But before the Mark Williams trade, they've gotten better, and that's my position on that trade.
Yeah, I don't agree with most of those points that you made. See, this is why the Dallas Mavericks got just a little bit better than they were with Luka. Okay, they had two guys handling the ball. That was Luka and Kyrie. So if you want to make like a constructional change to the roster, you can afford to probably lose one of them, right? Now, I'm not saying Luka should have been the guy. Obviously, it should have been Kyrie, if anything. But whatever.
But
They got rid of Luka. They have Kyrie in there.
but real quick. So you're saying that they have two ball handlers, so one had to go. How is that true?
No,
I
I
mean,
didn't. No, I didn't say he had to go. I said they have leverage to lose one if they want to improve in other areas. That's what I'm
but
saying.
but you don't. What you're gonna have one ball handler for the entire postseason? You're not gonna win with that type of basketball. You need more than one ball handler the entire game. They couldn't afford to lose another ball handler, let alone their main floor general. Who's gonna run the offense?
Bro, listen, bro. This is what I was gonna break down, right? So because they lost Luka, They have Kyrie, right, who's obviously a star. Now you get Anthony Davis, and he's not playing the center. He's playing the power forward for them. And they have Daniel Gafford and Lively as their other two centers. So that right there shows that their defensive identity is pretty similar to the bubble Lakers team that won it all. Okay. The only difference is this time, instead of LeBron, they have Kyrie running the one, which obviously I'm not saying the Mavericks are that good because of that reason. But yeah, so ultimately, overall, from a constructional fit, yes, the Mavericks got better because Luka offered no defense. Yes, he's better than Davis, but from a constructional fit and for what the Mavericks needed, Davis did help them get better.
Okay,
Now why did the Lakers get a little worse? For similar reasons, bro. Because Davis was a better constructional fit than Luka would have been for the Lakers team up
but
until they
what
got Mark Williams. Now that they got Mark Williams, different story.
but what I'm saying is we're not talking about role players. You're talking about Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis like they're role players, like constructional fit. Luka Doncic is the system. Luka Doncic is the reason. He is the engine. You traded away your engine for parts. A good part, don't get me wrong, but you traded your engine for a battery. Like I don't understand why people are saying that the Mavs constructually they got better. We're not talking about a role player that fits better in the offense. Luka Doncic is the offense. He is the reason. And you traded away Luka Doncic, right? You traded away Luka Doncic. He's gone now. So now what is your system? Exactly. What is the system? You have one ball handler who has to create for every single person on the basketball team. Look, Kyrie couldn't even perform when it mattered most last year with Luka when he didn't have to facilitate the offense. Now you're going to say, Kyrie, we're going to take Luka away from you, and now you have to facilitate the offense? Seriously. And we think that that's a better basketball team. Come on, bro.
Yeah, it is because look, their offense obviously took a hit because Luka's better than Davis. But when you look at what Davis offers overall, right, he's gonna get you a guaranteed 25 plus every game. And he's arguably the best defensive player in basketball. When you factor
Was
in
what,
all of those things, the offense is still gonna be good. Maybe
bro,
not as good as before, but the offense will still be good. Their defense is obviously probably gonna be the best in the league. I mean, they were a
bro,
top five defense prior. Now they you get Anthony Davis, it's probably gonna be number one. And bro,
bro, who
when you look at the Mavericks performing, right? Even without Luka Doncic, their offense looks very functionable. So it's not like they're
yeah.
completely fucked anyway. Then they're adding Anthony Davis to, when they were already playing solid basketball without Luka. So I think for the current, they got a little better. But was the deal worth it? Obviously not. They lost their franchise player just to probably not even win anyways. So
Was okay. Is the Dallas Mavericks, right? What was their problem last postseason? If you can remember, was it offense or was it defense? It was offense. The problem was not defense. Okay. These games, you can go back and you can look at these finals games and the playoff games. They're low scoring games. Their problem was not defense. Their problem was offense because they didn't have enough guys to generate offense. Hence, which is why they got Klay Thompson. Hello, are we forgetting at the fact that they got Klay Thompson to carry more of the load offensively? They didn't get Klay Thompson for defense. They got him for offense. And you traded away your offensive, the guy who you build your offense around. They didn't need defense. It's yes. And if you had Anthony Davis is going to make you better on defense, yes, of course. But it's not like they needed defense to get over the hump. They needed offense, which is why they got Klay Thompson. So if you're going to tell me that they're better by trading away offense, which last summer they addressed by getting a guy who can help on offense, and then you trade the guy who you run your offense around, it just doesn't make any sense. So
when you look back at the finals, bro, they did have problems offensively, but you got to remember, bro, Luka and Kyrie were not even shooting the ball well themselves. Just think about it, bro. Like Luka, like he averaged 29, but he wasn't efficient watching the series. A lot of his stats were, in garbage time. And then Kyrie just completely didn't show up. So part of their offensive problems were that their two best guys did not show up in the finals.
Of
So
course. So
and
what you're saying, of course, we agree, bro. We agree that they didn't show up when it mattered most offensively. But you're still proving my point. The problem was offense. It was not defense. You can go back and look at the numbers, or you can watch the game for yourself. The problem was not defense, bro. It was offense. That's why they addressed to get another offensive player in the summer. So that's my argument, bro. Like, is this going to make Dallas better defensively? Of course, it's going to make Dallas better defensively, but that wasn't their problem in the first place. That's just like telling, I don't know, the number one ranked defense in all of football that they can have TJ Watt. It's like, that's obviously fantastic. But am I going to trade my quarterback for TJ Watt when I have the number one ranked defense already? No thanks. That doesn't make any sense. And that's what Dallas did. And people are trying to say that because a team got TJ Watt and they were already good on defense, but by the way, we traded our quarterback. We traded the guy who's going to generate our offense, and that's going to make us better. That doesn't make any sense at all. And you're going to see it when Dallas might not even make the postseason because, like I said again, it's more likely that they miss the postseason versus make the playoffs. Now, if this was day one, I don't think that that would be the case. But because they're the 10th seed in the West, and you have two injury prone guys who are going to miss time, and you have one guy that's going to generate your offense, what happens if Kyrie Irving goes down? He's going to miss games, bro. What is going to happen? They don't have one other shot creator on their team. This is bad, bro.
yeah, no, if he gets hurt, they're fucked.
They're
And I know
fucked.
the team is injury prone.
So like,
That's another one of the reasons why Dallas even lost the deal. But I'm just saying when they're at full health, yeah, they got better. And also, bro, you gotta remember, bro, now that Davis is playing the four for this team, bro, and he's a big man, you know what I'm saying? Once a big man is like in the post in his spots, it's easier for them kind of to score. While Luka, he's a guard, he has to like dribble, facilitate. Now, obviously, I'm not saying Davis is better than Luka, but I'm just saying if you put Davis in that finals last year, I probably think he would have done a better job offensively than Luka overall. Because I feel like as a big man, it's just naturally easier for them to like get to their spots and score. Especially now that he's going back to playing the power forward position where he thrives the most, which is another thing to back up my constructional roster argument. He's gonna play the four for this team. So they're elite defensively. And even though they lost some offense out of Luka, it's not like they're completely fucked, bro. Like I said, they still have Irving. Davis is literally offense himself. I mean, the guy's not Daniel Gafford, where he just comes in and brings in defense and nothing else. And then going back to the quarterback argument, if you're gonna use an example like that, bro, you got to make sure the backup guy is good. Like for example, if the Steelers is a perfect example of this. Say if they could get I don't know, Micah Parsons, for example, but they had to trade Russell Wilson to get him. Then you have a solid guy backing him up, which is Justin Fields. You could afford to take that loss. This is basically what the Dallas
not
Mavericks
a
did with Luka Doncic right now.
it's not a clean comparison, bro. Like you can't compare Luka Doncic to Kyrie Irving. Luka Doncic is a five-time first team All NBA. He's been in the league for 6 years. He's led a team to a conference finals and an NBA finals at 25 years old. He has the second highest scoring average in the postseason of all time. We are talking about if filling his potential, we're talking about a top 10 player all time. Kyrie Irving, as good as he is, he does not scratch the surface of what Luka Doncic is. I think we all can agree with that. So again, you traded away that guy for more defense, which you were already good at defense. Is Anthony Davis good offensively? Of course he's good offensively. Of course. But he is no Luka Doncic. He's not even the best scoring center he's not even the best scoring center in basketball. I would argue that there's two centers that are undisputedly better than him offensively. So you did that, which is a massive L for defense, which you didn't need. And then you're pairing him with another guy who hasn't yet proven that they can win when it matters most. And on top of it, they're injury prone. So we're still, no one's refuted my argument yet where I said, who do you have Dallas making the finals? Everyone says no. So how did this team get better? They didn't. You look at it from a roster construction standpoint, but we're not talking about role players. We're talking about the engine. When you're talking about the engine, that argument goes out the door, especially in the postseason. Because if you're going to tell me right now that was Miami better constructually than some other teams? Of course not. Was Cleveland better constructually than some other teams? Of course not. You know what the difference was? LeBron James. That's the difference. So you're telling me that, whether it's Atlanta could be constructionally better, or Boston or Brooklyn, or the Bulls, whatever you want to say, they were all constructionally built better. But guess what? They have LeBron James,
I
and
don't
that
know.
will
Were
be the
they, bro?
difference.
I don't know. Were they, bro? Were they built better constructionally? The
I
years
mean,
that Cleveland and Miami were winning, were they?
yeah, like I listen, I don't want to make that the main argument, but I'm just using that as an example to prove to you that it doesn't matter about the construction when we're talking about a generational talent. When you mention construction, you're going over role players. But when you're talking about generational talents, that doesn't apply.
No, I think constructional fits always matter, which is why the Boston Celtics, for example, even won last year, and they don't have an undisputed number one guy. Like, bro, their best player is Jason Tatum, and he didn't even win the Finals MVP. Like, we've seen teams like that
Your
before, where
your
they win
argument
without a true superstar. Because in my opinion,
your argument goes out the window because you don't even have Dallas making the finals. So again, you're using comparisons with people that you don't even think they're as good as, right? Like no one thinks Dallas is that good. This is what I'm trying to say, bro. Like you're saying, like, well, it works roster construction, bro. No one has Dallas making the postseason. So you then have to say which is more
well, I think
likely.
that's a lie. I think everybody has him making the postseason, unless you meant
You know what I
make
mean.
the
The
finals.
finals.
The
We all know
finals.
what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
Okay.
We all know what I'm saying. So you're basically saying that Dallas made the finals 6 months ago. Like, bro, reality is making my argument for me. Dallas made the finals 6 months ago, and we're saying that they have a better roster construction now, and no one has them getting back to the finals. And what the next argument is going to be, well, bro, no one had them making the finals last year, and that was 6 months ago. That's last year. Again, we're talking about a generational superstar. When you have a player like that, we all know this, bro. I don't know why we're pretending we don't know this. When you have a generational player like LeBron, like Luka, like Jokic, all bets are off. They make the shit work, bro. So it's like let's not you have a better chance of making the finals with Luka on a bad constructural team than you do without Luka with a good constructural rostered team, especially this one in the Dallas Mavericks. By the way, no one has making the finals. To me,
I'm
this is very simple, bro.
Well, it was a good overall team if you look at it, bro. Like, I mean, he has Kyrie, who's proven to win as a second option before. He had 3 and D guys. He had Gafford and Lively as centers. Like, the construction was good. The problem was
Kyrie's
just
not the
that
second option. That's the problem, bro. Kyrie's not the second option. Kyrie's the first option. He's going to be having the ball in his hands
mm-mm.
every single play. And if you say, yeah, Anthony Davis is the number one option, I would argue that's probably worse. But what I'm saying is you're incorrect. And the reason why you're incorrect is because who has to give Anthony Davis the ball? Who has to run the offense? Who has to score and facilitate for every single guy on that basketball team? Kyrie Irving is the number one option.
He's the point guard, but no, it's Anthony Davis, bro. It's gonna be just like Philadelphia, bro, with Tyrese Maxey and Embiid. Bro, you're not gonna look at me and say Maxey's the number one guy just because he's the point guard. Like, no, it's
Maxey
Joel
doesn't
Embiid.
run the offense.
Bro, he does though. Bro,
No, he doesn't.
bro, this is literally what Kyrie is going to do in Dallas, bro. He's gonna bring up the ball as the point guard. Yeah, he'll run some sets. He'll do his job as the sidekick, but ultimately the offense in Philly runs through Embiid mainly, and that's how it's gonna be here in Dallas. It's gonna be through Davis, with Kyrie being like the Maxi kind of. Like, you can't sit here and tell me Maxi's gonna be
Yeah.
the guy, bro.
Yeah, and we'll see how that goes for Dallas when like I said, they have a better chance of missing the playoffs entirely than they do making the finals. And they did that 6 months ago with the generational talent. So they're not better right now, which is you can't compare opinion to opinion. You have to compare facts to facts. And what I'm saying is the team last year, 6 months ago, was in the finals. No one has them making the finals this year. And
Mm-hmm.
if you say, well, no one had them making the finals with Luka, you can make that argument. But I can also say that no one had them making the finals last year. But the difference is obviously Luka Doncic, and we all realize that. If something happened to you and you were in a coma for the next 6 months, and you wake up and someone said, "Yeah, bro, Dallas went back to the finals," would that surprise you? Of course not, because he just did it 6 months ago. So that would not surprise anyone. So again, you know, and I'll just end by saying this before we move on, because we already spent a lot of time here. This is crazy. I think almost 30 minutes. But when you have a generational talent, that makes up for construction. When you're talking about roster construction, you're talking about role players. You're talking about players that can help your superstar win. But when you're talking about a superstar, it doesn't matter about no roster construction, right? We said the same thing with Luka and Kyrie. People forget that. We said the same thing. How would that work? Nah, they just made the NBA Finals. Was LeBron James and Dwayne Wade great roster construction wise? No. They're two guys that can't shoot and they're the guards. That's not a good situation. But you have LeBron James, so it works out pretty fine, right? Was Iman Shumpert, Timofey Mozgov, who else? Tristan Thompson. That was their starting lineup in the 2015 NBA Finals. That's a terrible roster construction. That's awful, right?
Yeah.
But what's the difference? LeBron James, right? So when you
Right,
have
but
these
bro,
generational talents,
you also do have to realize LeBron is arguably the greatest player ever. Like, bro, you could put any other player in NBA history on that team, they don't make the finals, bro. They don't. So I'm sorry, you just can't compare Luka to that. Like, bro, they didn't trade LeBron James, they traded Luka Doncic.
I think you can compare LeBron James to Luka Doncic at 25.
Mm,
And the stat
even
the stats
even
the stats and his progression just proves that to you. They both made a finals young. They both made a finals very young, except Luka is a 5-time NBA first teamer. You could
okay,
you could compare them, and you could arguably say Luka's better at 25 than LeBron. You could make that argument.
okay, even if you want to make that argument, that's fine. But what you're comparing LeBron to for what he did this at 30, bro. He didn't do this at 25. Like
Sure.
in 2015, when LeBron carried those Bozos to a finals, he was 25, bro. Or my bad, he was 30. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, you can make the argument he also got scrubs to finals in '07, but realistically, bro, when you really look at it, do you even think Luka could bring that roster to a finals, the '07 team? I don't know, bro. I mean, even if you want to say the stats are close, bro, I don't know. I just don't think you could compare Luka to LeBron when you're trying to factor in value towards a franchise because LeBron is just the only guy that can do so much with so little.
I think if you can compare anyone, it's Luka. And it's because of their games are very, very, very similar. We're talking about guys who have the highest IQ probably of all time. I'm not saying that they're 1 and 2, but what I'm saying is they both of these guys are 6'7", 250 pounds, could score at will now in different ways, but could still score at will. And they're one of the best passers that the game has ever seen. And if you make that argument, you then could say, yeah, that guy has a chance to lead a team to the NBA Finals. And I just think trading that away for more defense is not going to help you in the short term or in the long term at all. And like I say, now that we've debated short term with them, let's talk about long term.
Okay,
Number one,
I think we can agree long term. We can agree on that.
right? But what I'm saying is, number one, it depends on how you want to view long term, right? Because this is a 1 to 2 year window for them.
I agree. Yeah.
Kyrie Irving is an unrestricted free agent. Now, I get what people are going to say, bro, where's he going to go? Like, blah, 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 blah. But it is a gamble. And if Kyrie Irving has the mindset of like, yo, they just traded Luka without no remorse at all, I don't like that, man. Like that could really rub Kyrie Irving the wrong way. And if Kyrie says I'm out and he doesn't re-sign with the Mavericks, this will go down as the worst ever trade in NBA history And I'll be here to say it first. Nico Collins, if Kyrie Irving does not re-sign with the Mavericks and they don't win the finals, he deserves to have his job stripped away from him. He needs to be fired immediately. And whoever told him to do this needs to be fired immediately. I think they should be fired right now because of how unimaginable and stupid this decision is. But if Kyrie Irving, if they don't find a way to re-sign Kyrie Irving and he walks away and you're left with 33-year-old Anthony Davis, this will be the worst trade in NBA history. And
No,
that's on the table.
I agree.
That's on the table.
No, I agree, bro. I mean, a lot of people already think it is. So unless they manage to win a championship to make it somewhat worth it, it's gonna be the worst deal ever. That I agree with. Yeah, I do. The Lakers obviously won the trade overall. Yeah, after this deal and the Mark Williams deal, the Lakers became my personal favorites. But yeah, I guess we could move on from this topic though. I think we got everything out the way.
Yeah, and again, guys, last point on this Lakers and Mavs trade is again, guys, I will make the argument that they are more likely to miss the postseason than to make the NBA finals. And the reason for that is they are the 10th seed in the West with two injury prone superstars that has never proven that they can go deep into the playoffs. And you're telling me they're going to do that. They're more ready to win now at 33 years old. They're more ready to do that now than any other time in their career. Okay. So yeah, and then they're more likely to be the ninth or eighth seed, and you have to go into a play-in situation. You know who else is going to be in the play-in? The San Antonio Spurs with Wemby and De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, they're
You know
gonna.
who else is going to exactly? And so what I'm trying
No,
to
I'm
say,
saying the Mavericks are.
yeah, exactly. The Mavs are going to be the Mavs are going to be in that play-in situation with the Spurs with teams like this, and you have to say at that point it's a one game, all bets are off, and then we'll see. But I think it's more likely they miss the postseason. Um, but yeah, we'll move on. We'll talk about the next trade, the next biggest trade, which was it didn't even feel like a big trade after this Luka one. Well, actually, since we're on the Lakers, we'll discuss the other Laker trade, and then we'll go to that one. So, yeah, as far as yesterday, the Lakers received the center Mark Williams, a 23-year-old center from Charlotte, and Charlotte received Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 first round, and a 2030 swap. What's your take on that trade?
Bro, Rob Pelinka needs to win GM of the decade, bro. Bro, so we're gonna go all the way back to 2019. He traded Alonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart for Anthony Davis, who equaled to a championship, and then he flipped that into Luka Doncic. Now, to follow that up, he trades Dalton Knecht, a first round pick in 2031. And then Cam Reddish, who I like to call Scam Reddish because he's fucking useless, for Mark Williams and a pick swap. Bro, even though Dalton Knecht is good, he's not better than Mark Williams. Like, bro, did you see the run Mark Williams has had like the past month, bro? Like, the guy has literally been playing dominant basketball, bro. He's an anchor. He can block shots. Like, bro, he's literally just what the Lakers needed to literally fulfill their potential as a championship team. He's what they needed. I think he's gonna put them over the top. The Lakers are my favorites now. And yeah, bro, I just don't understand how we managed to get him at such a cheap price because Dalton Knecht isn't as good as him. And then Cam Reddish is not making up the value. He stinks. And then I guess you could say, okay, well, they received the first in 2031. Maybe the Lakers will suck by then and it'll have some value. But regardless, that pick is 6 years from now. Like, I just don't think that's enough for Mark Williams. Not to mention, you also gave them the option to have a pick swap. Like, what if you guys still stink by then? Because knowing Charlotte's franchise, they're probably going to stink if you look at their track record. So you gave them the option to do a pick swap pretty much while giving away Mark Williams for just Dalton Knecht and a first round pick, which is 6 years from now, which may or may not be good. So the Lakers obviously took the W in this deal. Give Rob Pelinka GM of the decade, bro.
Okay. So now I think they traded a little too much for Mark Williams. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I was sitting here spending my valuable time watching Charlotte Hornet basketball. Okay. But I will say this. You traded away Don Connect. And here's what I'll say about Connect. I know they couldn't really play him because he was terrible on defense and this and that. But I just don't think you trade Dalton Connect for Mark Williams. We have to remember Anthony Davis's last game as a Laker. He did nothing but make Mark Williams look like a 12th grader. He completely destroyed him. Anthony Davis's last game as a Laker, he had 42 points and 25 and 20 plus rebounds against Mark Williams. So that's the first thing. I don't want to rain on the Lakers parade. I actually have this team making the conference finals. So I'm not going to be the one to say, yeah, Mark Williams completely sucks, and I'm not shitting on them. But we do have to put it into perspective here. I do think that he is the center for the future, but I don't think he's going to be that elite difference maker right now. I don't think he replaces Anthony Davis. I think, especially defensively. But I do think that was a solid pickup. I personally would have traded instead of Dalton Connect, Rui Hachimura. Okay. And I've been saying this for about a year now that they have to deal Rui Hachimura. And I know he's playing very well. He is playing very well. I will say that. He's shooting the ball good. He's playing well. But one, Dalton Connect has more upside than Rui Hachimura. And then two, Rui Hachimura, to me, had more value right now, especially him having a career year. He's averaging just under 17 points a game. He's shooting 40% from three. And that's with being the number 4 or number 5 option, and he's averaging 17 points a game. Like, can you imagine if he went to Charlotte, he'd probably average 25 points a game, right? When Dalton Connect is going to have his struggles right now. So, and Rui Hachimura is still virtually young. I think he's 26 or 27. So he's still kind of young. So I would have traded Rui Hachimura and Cam Reddish in the 31st round pick for Mark Williams. I don't think I would have let Dalton Connect go. If they said, if you don't give us Connect or the deal's off, like if they said that, then, it's tough because this is the last day. So maybe I would have just done it out of panic. But I do think the Lakers are going to regret trading Dalton Connect. I think in the next 3 to 4 years, Dalton Connect is going to be a 25 points per game scorer. He's going to be lights out, and the Lakers are going to wish that Luka had him.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would have loved to keep Connect. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would have obviously preferred to get Rui Hachimura, but to be honest with you, bro, I don't know what they were negotiating. I wasn't behind the scenes to overhear them, but I'm pretty sure the Lakers probably tried bidding low because this is how negotiations always do. You start bidding low, and then if push comes to shove, then you can kind of give up more the more you guys talking with. So assuming the Lakers did that, yeah, I mean, I would say push comes to shove, you kind of have to give up Connect in this kind of a situation, even if you wanted to keep him. The Lakers needed a center, not to mention he's also a young center, so it's not like they traded for like a 30-year-old who they're saying he only has 1 or 2 years. Like this guy is gonna be good for a pretty long time. And right now, as of right now, at least, he's the better player. The Lakers are trying to win. He offers more to the Lakers' current situation. I think
That's
this
awesome.
deal was a W for the Lakers. As much as I'd like to keep Dalton, I would have, but unfortunately he had to go. But I'm not gonna complain that we didn't keep him because it was a very good deal.
Yeah, it fits the Lakers' needs right now and for the future. So, yeah, Rob Pelinka definitely did his thing with that. The only thing that I would say though, the obviously the best thing was getting Luka, but the second best thing that Rob Pelinka did is not trade Austin Reeves. And
Exactly.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people, including a lot of people that I know, were not so high on Austin Reeves. We have a group chat with some informed individuals, and they kind of are saying that, yeah, if Austin's in there, screw it, you do it. But I'm a big believer, and you can call me crazy if you want, but even when Luka was on the table, I'm like, do not trade Austin Reeves. And I'm not saying that Austin Reeves is better than Luka, obviously. But what I'm saying is Austin Reeves, and I'll be on the record for saying this right now. Austin Reeves, starting next year, can be a number 2 player on a championship team. If LeBron James retires after this year and they're left with Luka and Austin Reeves, I think that they could be one of the best duels offensively in basketball. And it's not only because Austin Reeves' high level intelligence on the basketball floor, it's his shot making, it's running the offense, and it's his savvy effort defensively. Okay, now I know he's not the best defender, but if you watch him play defense, he's very smart, and he also hustles for rebounds. I don't know if you guys watch Laker games, but every single Laker game, Austin Reeves has 4 or 5 rebounds that I'm like, bro, that's a good rebound, bro. Like he fights, he hustles. He's not the best defender, but he certainly does try, and he's savvy and he's smart. Okay, so whenever Luka's gonna love playing with Reeves. Why do you think 2 or 3 years ago LeBron's like, I want to be on the court with Austin Reeves? It's because LeBron wants to be on the floor with intelligent basketball players, and Austin Reeves is definitely one of them. So yeah, that's my little congratulations to Rob Pelinka for keeping
Yep.
Austin Reeves, because that's a big deal.
I agree. Even me myself, bro. I have I have my group chats with you, but I have my other personal ones too with some of my other friends and stuff. Yeah, most of them are saying the Lakers need to trade Austin Reeves for a 3-and-D guy. I'm like, bro, trading Austin Reeves, who averages 18-6, for a player like Contavious Caldwell Pope, for example, is not going to make the Lakers a better team, okay? It's not going to make them a better team. I'm gonna be honest. For what the Lakers needs as of right now in a 3-and-D guy is, there's only one player in NBA history I would trade Austin Reeves for, and that is prime Klay Thompson. That's how freaking good this guy is, okay? I am not trading him unless it's for a star that would constructionally fit the team better. Klay Thompson is the only guy I would deal him for in his prime. That's it.
Yeah,
That's how
not
good this guy
not
is.
not today, Clay Thomas. Not
No,
today.
hell nah. Hell nah. He ass.
Hell no.
Yeah, hell nah. He has.
But
Prime Clay Thompson is the only player I would trade him for.
yeah, because guys, you have to remember, bro, like everyone's forgetting this last point. And this last thing I'll say about Dallas, but and it ties to Reeves. But this is what people are forgetting. They're like, yeah, the ball's gonna be in Luka or LeBron's hands. Like, where does Austin Reeves fit in it? And blah 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 blah. You're not playing my GM on 5 minutes per game in 2K. Okay. This is the NBA. Luka is going to miss time. LeBron is going to miss time. They have 0 playmakers outside of LeBron, Luka, and Reeves. If one of those guys get hurt, who do you have as a playmaker? You don't want to be left with only one playmaker, hence what Dallas is right now. You don't want to be in that predicament, because if that playmaker gets hurt, who's running the offense? Benjamin Franklin, right? So, you want to have that third primary ball handler who can also shoot, who has great IQ, who's also going to hustle on the basketball court, and who's always going to be there when you need him. You need a guy like that, and you don't trade a guy like that. So people are just like, yeah, trade him, get one more defensive, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah. And then what happens when LeBron or Luka gets hurt? Then what? And Luka has to go to the bench because he can't play 48 minutes a game. Who's running the offense? Huh? Bronny James, Gabe Vincent, who did Vando? Who's running the offense? So again, you have to keep him, and that's just a W for Rob Pelinka to keep Austin Reeves. And I see people trolling like, yeah, here we go with this young core Lakers don't trade Reeves crap, but Reeves is different. Okay, he's different from Kuzma and Ball. Reeves is different. But yeah, we'll move on. We'll talk about the San Antonio trade. So, as I said, it doesn't feel as massive as that first one that we talked about. But De'Aaron Fox was traded to San Antonio with Jordan McLaughlin for Sacramento's. They now got Zach LaVine, Sadi Kisoko, and a bunch of fucking picks. All right, maybe I'm botching the names, guys, but these guys are kind of scrubs. And then the Chicago got Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Herter, and a 25 first round pick. So just to if you're watching us and not watching the video, you're just listening. Just say De'Aaron Fox is the San Antonio Spur and Zach LaVine is the Sacramento King. That's all you need to know. What's your take on that trade?
I mean, I already went over this on my show, but I'll kind of repeat what I already said for those of you that did not watch my show. Okay. In my opinion, this was an overall W for all the teams. Like the Spurs got De'Aaron Fox, which obviously he's a young point guard, and they needed a point guard, so W for them. I think for the Kings, listen, this trade wasn't about getting Zach LaVine. It was more about what they could get for Fox, who requested a trade. Okay, so they had to trade Fox. They got LaVine. Okay,
Got
whatever.
a lot of fucking picks.
They got a lot of picks though. So that's why it's a W for them. It's not because of Zach LaVine. It's because they got 3 first and 3 second rounders, and that's 6 picks right there. Okay. I mean, if you have to trade a guy and you have no choice but to do it, and you could get 6 picks along with players in it, that's a good deal. So that's a W for the Kings. And then the Bulls, yeah, I mean, they got good young role players, you know. I mean, they're in rebuild mode right now. You know, I think receiving those 3 young guys, I mean, that's a good core for their future right there for when they start getting stars eventually to surround them.
Yep, I'm not even gonna comment because that was a great thing you broke down there. So one more question, I'll give my thoughts on this question that I'm gonna ask you after you answer it. But does this make San Antonio a championship contender?
No, not as of right now. But eventually, within the next 2 to 3 years, yes. The reason why I say that is because they're a young team. They still have a lot of project guys developing. Like they got Castle, Sochan, Vassell. You know, obviously Wemby's not even close to being maxed out as a player, and he's already arguably top 10. That's mainly why. Obviously, Fox made them better, and they're like pretty much guaranteed to make the postseason now. But in about 2 to 3 years, once all these guys are fully developed, bro, they're gonna be contenders.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of agree. I would say that they'd be contenders as soon as next year. I would say, listen, they're scary right now, but unfortunately, they're 12th in the West right now, and their best chance at making the postseason is right now. That 10th seed is the play-in tournament, and from there, maybe they could sneak in the playoffs, but they'll be out in round one. But if they make it in, definitely no one wants to face a player like Wemby, who you just can't game plan for. He's a freak, and I'll tell you this. Next year no one's gonna want to play them, and if the year started today, I would say that they're one of the scarier teams out west, just because they have everything that you need. They have a great point guard. You have a generational center who can fundamentally change the way that you play basketball. Okay. And then on top of that, you have good, key, young, hungry role players that can 3-and-D, that could rebound, that hustle, that could dunk the ball. Right. So they have a great basketball team. So next year, when they have Pop, hopefully Pop comes back okay. But yeah, you get Pop back, and then you get Wemby and Fox, and you get a couple other key. They need a couple veteran role players. You can't be that young of a team. You need a few veteran role players. So get yourself some veteran role players, and I think they could be right there in the West for sure. Um, but yeah, guys, we'll move on. We'll talk about just a few more trades, and then we'll give our take on the Super Bowl. We'll give our Super Bowl predictions on this video here as well. So we'll just go through a few more trades for you guys. I'm not gonna go through the Caleb Martin, Quinn, and Grimes one, but that one was not very smart on Dallas's behalf. I
Mhm.
don't think that they should have done that. Let's go into the next kind of. It's not a big trade, but it's one to point out how laughable and stupid it was. The Milwaukee Bucks got Kyle Kuzma and Jericho Sims in a 25 first rounder, and they gave away Chris Middleton and AJ Johnson, right? Who is one of the better defenders, and a 28 pick swap. And then New York and San Antonio had to get involved to make this work. So New York got DeLon Wright, and then the San Antonio Spurs got Patrick Baldwin Jr., which I know two scrubs guys. But the main thing that you want to take away from this is The Milwaukee Bucks traded away Chris Middleton and AJ Brown and AJ Johnson for Kyle Kuzma. What is your take on that?
L, bro. L. Bro. Kyle Kuzma actually got worse. If you guys have been keeping up with a little bit of every team in the NBA this year, he is legitimately worse. Like the guy was on a sorry team with the ball all game, could do whatever he wants, and he still wasn't producing. Like that's how bad this guy has gotten. And then the Bucks just looked at that and said, "Okay, we're gonna trade away Chris Middleton, who's worked with us for years, is honestly better even right now. He's better than him right now. He knows the system. He's been working with us for years. Yeah, let's just throw him away for the guy who sucks. Yeah, let's just do that. L trade for Milwaukee. L trade, bro. The Bucks, the Bucks days are limited, bro. That team ain't going nowhere with Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham as the coaches. They're old. They just got even worse. Giannis is bound to request out. I don't know if you saw this or not, but after the Luka trade happened, they asked Giannis his thoughts about it. You know what he said? He said, I would like to see every European in a big market. He said Luka to the Lakers, Jokic to the Knicks. He's kind of foreshadowing he wants to get dealt to a big market. He's foreshadowing that because he's European. Why else would he say that, bro? He didn't have to bring up Jokic. He could have just gave a simple thought about Luka, but he brought that up with a foreshadow that he's probably going to request a trade after the season's over.
Listen, man, Giannis hit his peak. Okay, we've seen the best that Giannis can bring. Okay, um, Giannis had a generational run a couple years ago, but he is no, and I think this is the first time we ever talked about this, but he is no longer good enough in today's NBA to lead a team to a championship. He just can't do it. And, the reason for that is only because how better the NBA has gotten. If you told me, and I'll give you, I'll tell you why I'm saying this. If I told you you can pick one player to go on a postseason run with, who would you choose? And I'll give you a couple of them. Maybe you'll choose Giannis, but be fair and honest. Right now and in the next couple of years, let's say right starting this year and for the next 4 years, because that's assuming Giannis will be good for the next 4 years and factoring in these players as well. Now for the next 4 years in its totality. So maybe you go with Giannis now, but will you go with Giannis for the next 3 years? Like put them all together. Wemby or Giannis next 4 years?
Wemby. Mm-hmm.
In the postseason, right? In the postseason, Jokic or Wemby, or sorry, Jokic or Giannis next 4 years in the postseason.
Jokic.
Okay, Luka or Giannis in the postseason next 4 years.
This year, Giannis, but factoring in future, Luka.
Okay, so I just gave you the three players that are going to literally take over or still be on that elite level in the next 4 years, essentially. That's why we've seen the peak of Giannis, okay? He is not going to beat Wemby. He is not going to beat Luka. And who's the last guy I mentioned? I forgot.
Nah, you just mentioned those three guys, bro. I
Yeah,
mean,
Wemby, Luka, and
Jokic.
and yeah, and Jokic, okay, and these are, we're not even factoring in LeBron James. We're not factoring teams that are better, like the Cavs or like the Boston, right? Like we're not even mentioning them yet. We're just mentioning players that we would rather have in the postseason that we think we can go further with not having a team constructed around them, just basic names. So we've seen the peak of Giannis. He will not be better in the playoffs than any one of those three guys. And these three guys will be right near or in the finals from now and then in the next 3 or 4 years. And then by that time, Giannis will be 34, 35 years old and he's cooked. And the reason for that, he can't shoot the basketball, bro. He's just, and I said this years ago and people, made fun of me or whatever. But the truth is, Giannis is just not very good at basketball. He is an amazing athlete. He is a freak, but he is not very good at basketball. Victor Wembanyama is better at basketball than Giannis. He might not be a better overall player right now, but he is better at the game of basketball, right? And I think you're going to see that within the next couple of years.
No, I don't agree with that, bro. I mean, I think Giannis currently, as it stands, he's the second best player. Even if he drops to like 4 or 5, for example, bro, he's still a number one option if he's a top 5 player in the NBA. This is gonna come down to who's the better team, the matchups, bro. That's what it's gonna come down to. Giannis is still gonna be able to lead a team at least for the next couple years, assuming he's still good 4 years from now. He's still going to be able to do it. It's just going to come down to matchups and who's the better team, bro. That's all it's going to come down to, and that's why the Bucks haven't been winning, bro. Because I mean, after their championship, the following season, he took Boston to 7 games without Chris Middleton. He couldn't do much there. This Boston ended up making the finals. After that, they traded for Drew Holiday, and they got worse because Damian Lillard was going through things and he can't defend. Then Chris Middleton started getting washed up, and now here we are, with the Bucks of today, bro. I mean, last postseason he didn't even play, but the team wasn't good anyways. Here we are today, bro. The problem isn't Giannis; it's just the team, bro.
It's Giannis, bro, and I'm tired of the complaining and the excuses and the whining and the hinting at wanting to be traded and all this other bullshit. Like Giannis is not worth the trouble. If you, dude, and I'll say this, Giannis is a freak athlete, of course, but I would not take Giannis in a postseason. We have to remember, outside of what they win in 2018, 2019, whatever the fuck it was, outside of that run, he has choked in the postseason. You can go back and look at his numbers. He hasn't played well. People have been saying, yeah, you could do a box and one on Giannis in the postseason, or you could run these defenses at Giannis to make him struggle. Whatever the fuck reason it is, he has not performed in the postseason. It kind of reminds me a lot of the Jalen Hurts argument. Now, recently, Jalen Hurts has had a great playoff game. He had a great NFC Championship game. So I give credit where credit is due to Jalen Hurts. But outside of that one playoff game, he hasn't performed well. And Giannis has been worse than Jalen Hurts in the postseason. He hasn't performed well, right? And so you could say, yeah, it's about the roster, blah, 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 blah. Why is Luka in the finals at 25 years old? And the West is a harder conference. Why is Anthony Edwards in the conference finals at 22 in a tougher Western Conference? Why is Jokic winning, but Giannis is not? And it's always an excuse, one excuse after another. Oh, they're not, they're not constructed right, blah, 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 blah. It's a lot of excuses and not enough winning basketball, right? And so do we think Milwaukee's going to get better or worse? I think they're going to get worse. Giannis is just getting older. Dame is just getting older, right? Kyle Kuzma stinks. I mean, Brook Lopez only getting older. Portis only getting older. They're not going to get better. They're going to get worse. And you know what Giannis is going to do after this year or next year? He's going to request a trade because he realizes that he can't lead the team to a championship. If you put Luka on Milwaukee right now, you're telling me that no one's looking at Milwaukee as they can make the finals. Of course, they're looking at a team as they can make the finals. And I'll tell you why. Pete's shaking his head, but I can tell you why. Because the East is a lot weaker than the West. We're not talking about the Western Conference. If you say, I'll give you Milwaukee, Luka with Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Damian Lillard, right? You're telling me that team can't beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in a series. I mean, Cleveland's yet to prove anything, right? They've yet to prove anything. I don't think you could definitively say that Cleveland's going to beat anybody. I think if Orlando matches up with Cleveland, you can't definitively say that Cleveland's going to walk Orlando. You can't say that. We've yet to see them in the postseason, right? So we think they're going to be good, but we don't know. So, my whole argument, and I'll walk it back home, is my main argument is just this. Milwaukee, they're screwed because their best player cannot carry them on his back to a championship. You
You
just can't
notice
do it anymore.
you notice when you were talking about the Bucks roster, you said getting older, getting older, getting older. That sounds more like a roster issue to me, bro. And Giannis, he was a choker at one point before his championship. But you go look at the two postseasons he played after that, he's performing. The team just wasn't winning.
Who played better 3 years ago when they lost to Miami after that championship run? Jimmy Butler or Giannis?
When you look at the stats, Giannis, bro. Bro, realistically,
Be,
you
be,
go you go look at that series realistically, bro. You go look at it. Giannis only played two full games in that series. He only played two full games in it. And even the games he was playing, you compare the stats, it looks like he outperformed Jimmy. Like Jimmy literally just went ballistic those last two games where they won. But when you look at the stat sheet, bro, you can't definitively say Jimmy Butler was better. You can't.
Bro, Jimmy
Like
Butler was better, bro. Jimmy Butler was better, bro. Like, bro, I don't want to make this a Giannis thing, but I'll just say this, man. I've never, you guys know this. We were talking about this in high school. Like, I've never been the biggest fan of Giannis, and I continue to not be a big fan of Giannis. And it's just not there. And he's gonna get surpassed very, very quickly. He wasn't even the best player in he's never had a generation. I mean, it's been LeBron, and then after LeBron, it's been really a three-player race between Jokic, Luka, and now you have Shea on the rise. You have Wemby who's coming. I just really don't see Giannis having any more success at all on the Milwaukee Bucks.
not on, I agree, not on the Bucks, but that's not to blame it on him though. That's just all I'm saying. I mean, I think in the future, I don't know what the future holds. Maybe the Bucks somehow construct a roster better. Giannis requests a trade and a team builds well around him. I don't know what the future holds, but within the next 4 years, assuming Giannis is still good, yes, he's still going to be a top five player. He's gonna be a number one option. It's just gonna come down to team and matchups, bro.
He ain't being top five, bro. I'm telling you that right now. Because your best players in the world, you're gonna have not in order, but you're gonna have Wemby, you're gonna have Luka, you're gonna have Shea, and then from there, I think personally, you're gonna add in Tatum in there because I think they're gonna continue to win, and then people are gonna start to put him in there, and I think he has an argument. You're gonna have Anthony Edwards. People are forgetting about him. They had a dude. They did him dirty. They traded away his second best player for a guy that stinks. Okay, so I don't really put this on Anthony Edwards at all. Like the team got worse. He's 23 years old. They got worse, but he's in that discussion as well. Ja is taking a leap this year. He's playing well, and I'm sure there's players off the
Who,
top
John
of my head.
Morant? John Morant?
Yeah, I'm saying John Morant's playing well. I'm not saying that he's better than Giannis right now, but I'm saying he's playing well and he'll be in the discussion in the next couple of years. And I'm pretty sure there's players that I'm forgetting. I mean, Pete loves Cooper Flag so much and all these other players, right? You got these guys coming in the next 3 to 4 years. Listen, man, I think that Giannis's time is over, but we'll see. But yeah, guys, we'll get into the last trade we'll talk about for today because we're running out of time, man. We're already at an hour and 20 minutes on this thing. So we'll talk about one more thing and then we'll get into our Super Bowl prediction. So the last trade that we're gonna go through, guys, is the Jimmy Butler trade. So as we all know, and I don't think I've ever given my stance on Jimmy Butler. So I want to preference my stance by saying this, and I'll let you talk about Jimmy Butler, and then we'll talk about the actual trade. But my stance on Jimmy Butler is what Jimmy Butler. This for you. Jimmy Butler may never watch this, but I'm gonna post this clip, and hopefully he sees this and it goes viral. Jimmy Butler, you are the reason. People like you are the reason why society is the way that it is today. Because you are going to get your way after being one of the worst human beings you can ever be. Okay? And I'm going to tell you why. You had an amazing run in Miami. You had an amazing run in Miami. Okay? Miami doesn't want to offer you a long-term contract because you are old. Okay? People don't pay you for what you have done. People pay you for what they think you are going to do. That's just how it goes. So Jimmy Butler came to the contract table like, here's my resume. That's not how you negotiate. You negotiate by saying, here's my vision. This is what we're going to do, etc. He came off of this after not being there for his team in the postseason while simultaneously yapping to the opponent. Pat Riley goes on. He's like, yeah, people that are not playing should just shut up. That's the problem. You're doing too much talking and not enough being on the basketball court for your team. Okay? So, in other words, shut up and dribble, right? And to some degree, I am in favor of that to some degree, where you don't get to just yap and not be on the court. You need to be playing in these games. If you want to play and you want to play well and you want to yap, fine. But you need to be on the court. So just preferencing this here. So he doesn't play. He yaps about, I don't know, saying if I was on the court, we would have won this and that, but not being on the court, not being available. Then you go to the contract table and they're not willing to give you a long-term contract, obviously, because you're old and they don't think you can do it anymore, right? Which is 100% the case. We all agree Jimmy Butler cannot lead a team to the NBA Finals. Or I should say, if you believe that, I should rather say he can't win the NBA Finals as the best player, right? He couldn't even do that when he was in his prime. Now he's past his prime, especially with this Miami team currently constructed. You can't do that. You're not that guy, right? So then he says, okay, I want out. No problem, right? The one thing that I will give Jimmy Butler is he said he wanted out. Pat Riley said, I'm not trading you, right? So that kind of puts you in a weird spot because now it's like, okay, he's not going to extend me and he's telling me I can't leave, whatever. But then you play out your year and then you weigh out your options and then you play your ass off, right? Like anyone else would do, play your ass off and then prove yourself, prove that you can still do it at a high level. And then a team will accept that. But what you don't do is decide that you want to quit on your team, show up to practices late, miss the team flights, leave practice early, being a complete, and excuse my language, I can't think of another term right now, being a bitch, being a female, being a woman, because that's what he was. He caused complete havoc in the locker room. He caused complete chaos in the locker room. He was leaving early. He was showing up whenever he wanted, deciding that he doesn't want to play, stuff like that. It got so bad that the team had to suspend him indefinitely with no timetable to come back without pay. That's how bad his behavior has gotten. And Jimmy Butler, you're the reason why society is what it is today, where you can make stupid decisions, you can think individualistic, you can be selfish and solipsistic and act like an idiot and get your way in the end. And I wish that Pat Riley would have said, we're not trading you. Sit your ass down for the rest of the year. We're not trading you. Sit your ass down right there and don't play. I wish you would have done that because that would have set a standard where it's like, you do not act this way and get your way. I am extremely frustrated with Jimmy Butler's actions.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Riley definitely took some extent that not many people take. Like he was suspending them indefinitely over and over again. Like he definitely took some extent, but ultimately, when the time came, he had to do what was best for the team. Get this guy out of here, get something in return before he walks away with nothing. I'm pretty sure every single GM in the NBA would have done that. But I do think Jimmy Butler was wrong. He was, was being a bitch. He has some history in the past doing this too. He had this in Minnesota. He went into Minnesota for 1 year. He told Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins that they're soft and they'll never win anything. And then he left. Okay. So he has some history of being like this goon or this villain or whatever. He has history of it, which is not good. But anyways, I'm not gonna talk about Jimmy Butler, the personality anymore. I'm gonna talk about Jimmy Butler, the player, and what I think he's gonna bring to this Golden State roster.
Well, hold on, because we're gonna talk about that now. So, the trade right for Jimmy Butler was Golden State got Jimmy Butler. Miami got Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker, Kyle Anderson in the 25 first round pick. Detroit somehow ended up with Dennis Schroeder that got traded like 4 times in the last 72 hours. Utah got KJ Martin and Josh Richardson, and Philly got nothing. So, just to kind of present the question for you. So, Golden State received Jimmy Butler, and Miami received Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker, Kyle Anderson, and a first. What's your take on that trade?
All right. What do I think this will do for the Warriors? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. The Warriors didn't give up too much for Jimmy, in my opinion. They managed to keep the young guys that they have to try and develop them into something, which is good. You know, that's good. They didn't have to give up too much. The Warriors are obviously going to become a better basketball team, but I don't think they are a contending team. I think they have obviously gotten better because Jimmy Butler is a good player. But when you just look at the Warriors team, it's still just not that good. Like these guys don't have very useful depth players. Like you can't just throw Steph and Jimmy out there and expect a two-man carry. Not to mention that Jimmy and Steph aren't even the same players that they were once upon a time ago. You know, both of these guys have regressed due to age. They're still good players, but they've regressed. Then you factor in that Draymond Green has also regressed, and you look at the rest of the team and you say, okay, well, this doesn't look very good. Not to mention, they also traded Andrew Wiggins, who was arguably their second best player prior to this trade. So you lost him. You don't have very good depth players. All your best players are not what they used to be. I just don't think this is a contending basketball team. Will they make the playoffs? Sure. Will they win a series? Maybe, depending on who they play. I mean, if they play the Rockets, for example, they could maybe beat them. That's really about it, though. So they cap out as a first to second round exit at best. Now, for Miami, was it still good for Miami? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, to be honest, they didn't have much leverage. They had to get Jimmy out of there, but they got solid return. They want to keep trying to win games. They got Wiggins, who's obviously a good role player. Kyle Anderson is decent. They got a pick out of it. And who was the last player they got? Oh, PJ Tucker,
PJ.
right? Oh, yeah, he's useless. All right, but they got Wiggins, you know, Anderson, and a pick for somebody that they had to trade. They had no choice but to deal him. So, yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah, I mean they could have gotten I know there was talks with Kevin Durant for Jimmy Butler straight up. So when you factor in they could have gotten Kevin Durant, this deal kind of sucks. But Kevin Durant was never realistic. Once he found out about the trade, he's just said that he didn't want to be traded. And if Kevin Durant says that, you kind of can't you kind of can't trade him. But I mean, listen, man, I'm gonna say this, and I'm not saying this as a hot take, or I'm not saying this just to try to get clicks, or you guys know I'm never like that. I'm always honest when it comes to it. But this is an opinion that is outside of the mainstream narrative. I think that this trade with Jimmy Butler is going to be a disaster. I'm going to repeat that. I think that this Jimmy Butler trade to Golden State is going to be a disaster. Jimmy Butler is the exact opposite of what warrior culture is. Warrior culture is unselfish basketball. You know, you play for your teammates, you play for others, you share the basketball, you don't care about yourself. Jimmy Butler is the exact opposite of that. And that's just his personality. Now, when we talk about on the court, don't take my word for it. Take Steph Curry's word for it. They asked him yesterday, how does he think this is going to fit? You know what he says? Steph Curry said, well, I know it's going to look different than what we're used to, but we have to try to make it work. Does that sound like someone that's confident that he's going to fit in the system? Does that sound like someone that's confident that he got traded? That Andrew Wiggins got traded? Steph Curry loved Andrew Wiggins, okay? Steph Curry and both Steve Kerr have talked glowingly about Andrew Wiggins. So, and I would argue not that Andrew Wiggins is better than Jimmy Butler, but I would argue what you've given up. I don't know if I would have given it up for a 33-year-old Jimmy Butler, who by the way said that he didn't want to get traded to anyone but Phoenix anyways. So this is a gamble. If Jimmy Butler does, he apparently he then signed a 2-year contract or whatever with Golden State. So whatever. I get that they worked it out for Jimmy Butler to be there long term, but who's to say that he is? We all know Jimmy Butler's personality. He could try it out and not like it and say, I want out, as he did with, I don't know, 5 other franchises. So this is to come. It's going to happen. This is a bad fit on the court and especially off the court with Jimmy Butler's antics and his selfishness and his stubbornness. If and again, this is the last thing I'll say. If Jimmy Butler comes to this team acting like that, you know who's going to put him in check? Draymond Green. Okay. And if you have a team with Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler arguing, I don't think that's going to be a good situation. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think that's going to be very good, especially if Jimmy Butler comes there thinking that he can put up with shit in the past, thinking that he can do that now. And you know, Draymond Green ain't backing down from nobody. And so I think that this can go very, very bad, very, very quickly, especially considering the fact that Jimmy just yesterday said that he doesn't want to be traded to anyone but Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything you said. I think they're just going to be an average basketball team. And then if Jimmy and Draymond get in each other's faces, oh, good luck. I mean, Draymond, he's clearly had altercations in the past with guys. He punched Jordan Poole in the face. He forced Kevin Durant out.
Yep.
And then you look at Jimmy Butler, too. What he did in Miami, what he did in Minnesota. These guys are of the same breed, right? So if they're in each other's faces, oh, God, they're going to be in trouble. But yeah, I just think they're going to be a mediocre basketball team at best.
Yeah. And I think worse, I think this is going to be a disaster. Like I think there's good there's a high chance, and I'm gonna clip this. That way, if I'm right, I can go viral. Okay, the dates here and everything. There is a good chance if Golden State misses the postseason and they play very bad basketball, Jimmy Butler can request a trade. I think that that is likely to happen, or they'll say the Warriors are looking to shop Jimmy Butler because I think this could just go very badly, very very quickly. Um, but yeah, guys, we'll move on. We'll get into our last topic of the day. We're already at an hour and 30 minutes into the show. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I would give it down to Marco if I had the buttons here. But for those of you that are still watching, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we'll end it by giving our Super Bowl prediction. So as you guys know, the Kansas City Chiefs will face the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday to determine who is the world champions. The Kansas City Chiefs are looking for their three-peat. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia Eagles are looking for revenge. So who do you have winning this game, and what is your score?
If it is a fairly officiated game,
Oh no. Your honest take. Taking the refs into consideration.
okay, I'll take them into consideration. Okay, they've been called out on the media too much, so they should be on their shit. I think the Eagles are going to win 38-31. Okay. I think the Eagles, they want revenge, clearly. You know, Saquon Barkley wants to win because he suffered all those years in New York. This might be his only chance. He's going to go ballistic. I know Jalen Hurts and the rest of the Eagles team want their revenge. They want their Super Bowl. I think they are going to upset the Chiefs. Well, actually, I can't even say upset. The Eagles are actually the favorites to win this, but I think they're going to upset their three-peat, I should say. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a highly offensive packed game, but I think the Eagles are just going to be the hungrier team in the end, even though the Chiefs are hungry as well because they want to make history. But I think that desire for revenge is going to beat them.
Okay. So, I mean, listen, man, I've gone back and forth with this. As you guys know, I've been with Kansas City the whole way. And if it was one person to beat, if it was one team to beat them, it would have been Buffalo. And I didn't even pick Buffalo. I actually predicted the perfect score. I didn't give myself credit. I predicted the exact score of the Chiefs Bills game. So I got to give myself credit. I predicted the exact score for that game. Now I plan on doing this. I plan on getting the exact score right in this game, and I think I will. Kansas City will win this game. Kansas City will three-peat. And people will start to say that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback we have ever seen. Kansas City will win this game. And I also think that Kansas City will win this game easily. Kansas City beats the Eagles 38 to 28. So 38-28. And I have the Chiefs in full control from start to finish. I think here's how the game goes. And if I'm right, guys, this is getting clipped. I think that Philly wins the toss. They elect to defer till halftime. The Chiefs get the ball first, which they want to do anyways. And they want to establish how dominant they are offensively, and they're going to score on the opening drive. Okay. What's going to happen next? Pressure's on the Eagles. They have to score. They have to say, okay, we have to score. We can't run the ball all the time. If they go down and get a field goal and the Chiefs score again, it's 14-3. Okay. Now you're at 14-3 and you're heading towards halftime. Okay. Now you're kind of pressed. And if Jalen Hurts makes one mistake, this game is over. And that's how I view this game going. I think that Kansas City is going to establish dominance early on, which is going to say we cannot just run the ball and run the clock out, because that's the secret to beating the Eagles. Okay, you need to score first and you need to control time of possession. You need to make the Eagles feel like they're running out of time. We have to go to our pass game. Once they go to their pass game and they stop from running the football, they're very, very scary. Okay. So I think what you have to do is you have to take the ball out of Saquon's hands and put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hand, and Jalen Hurts will make a mistake. Jalen Hurts will fumble. He's known to do that. In the greatest game of his life, he fumbled the football. Okay. So he will fumble the football. He does get antsy. He does get panicky. And you just have to establish offensively that this is not going to be a running game. You have to say, we are going to make Jalen Hurts play perfect. And as perfect as he may play, he will have a crucial turnover in a key pivotal moment. And that's what I think is going to happen. And I think Chiefs win this game 38-28.
I got it kind of going back and forth, kind of to like how their first Super Bowl went. A bunch of score changes, offenses going at each other. I think Hurts and Saquon are both going to do their thing, but I think the Eagles' desire for revenge is going to come out on top, though, and win them this game. Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. But I want to say one thing, though, about Patrick Mahomes. For people out there who think he's going to be the GOAT because of a three-peat, you guys realize how much further he has to go even with this? Dude, when Tom Brady was at 4 Super Bowls, he tied Joe Montana in rings. Most people were still saying Joe Montana is the GOAT.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, I think everybody can agree Brady is a better overall quarterback than Joe. Okay. So he had to win 5 to officially surpass him. Now all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes can be the GOAT with just 4 Super Bowls. And yes, mind you, he even lost to the guy twice.
Yes, because context matters, Pete. Number one, we're not talking about just another Super Bowl for Mahomes. What we're talking about is a three-peat, something that has never done in the history of the NFL. Secondly, what you're saying is the gap between Tom Brady and Joe Montana was in Tom Brady's favor. I agree with you, but it's not the gap talent-wise between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes wipes the floor from Tom Brady talent-wise. So now if you're saying Pat Mahomes is by far the more talented quarterback, you're then going to say, okay, the threshold for winning goes down just a bit because of that gap differential talent-wise. Now you say, okay, yes, he has less Super Bowls, but this is not just a regular Super Bowl. We're talking about a three-peat, something that has never been done in NFL history. So I'm not saying you have to agree with me, bro, but what I'm saying is you have to get the context right. That is the context. It's a three-peat, and because of the talent is so much in Mahomes' favor, you have to give it to him. With an addition to that, at the time Brady won the 4th Super Bowl, he was just entering, okay, Tom Brady is all the numbers are there, 45 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Like Mahomes was doing this in his second season. Okay, we have to remember Tom Brady didn't reach those all-time great numbers until it was mid in his career. Patrick Mahomes was doing that his second season. So with all that piling up, that's why people think he has at least the argument to be the GOAT if he three-peats.
Okay, do you want to know what else has never been done in NFL history? Winning 7 Super Bowls. Not even a team has ever accomplished that. And this was accomplished by a single player. So if you think three-peating is the greatest achievement ever, it's not. It's having more rings than any team ever as a player. Okay? And not to mention that the guy he's in the argument with, he beat him twice for 2 of those rings. He beat him once in the AFC title game, once in the Super Bowl. And you want to say, okay, well, Mahomes is more talented. That's why I brought up the Brady Montana argument, because it's like, okay, Brady's more
it's not
talented.
that much of a gap, though.
But it's like, okay, listen, if Brady is more talented, why wasn't he the GOAT when he had just 4 rings? Why did he have to surpass him?
Because the gap wasn't that great, bro. The gap wasn't that wide. Like, yes, Brady is more talented than Montana, but it's not that far off versus the gap between Mahomes and Tom Brady talent-wise. Come on, bro.
Bro, listen, regardless of how big of a gap you think the talent is, bro, everybody agrees Brady's more talented. He needed more rings to surpass Joe. So now that Mahomes is slightly past halfway to Tom Brady's ring count, he's all of a sudden the GOAT. Like, what the heck? And not to mention the history amongst them, too. So it's like, bro, I don't understand how people are trying to say he's the GOAT off of this.
Well, let's not forget, too, because I agree with you, but I think we're projecting. So what people say when they say Mahomes is going to be the GOAT by the Super Bowl, what we're assuming is Mahomes is going to get at least a couple of more Super Bowls before his career ends. We have to remember, as great as Tom Brady was, they had a 10-year drought of not winning a Super Bowl. 10 years of not winning the Super Bowl. And so when you factor that in, I don't think anyone thinks that Mahomes is going to have a 10-year drought of not winning a Super Bowl. I think it's more arguable that he retires in 10 years rather than not making a Super Bowl in 10 years. And so you have to factor that in, as people are assuming he's going to play 10 to 12 more years. He's going to go to the championship. Let's say he only gets there. Mind you, he's at a crazy pace. He's at like an 80% chance he'll make the Super Bowl. But let's say it goes down to let's say it goes down 50%. Let's say it goes to 30% and he plays 10 years. That's still another 3 chances at the Super Bowl, which is 50% drop off from what he is right now. And so if you say there's from 80% chance to 30% chance, he's still going 3 more times. And if he wins 1 or 2, now he's at 6 Super Bowls with a three-peat. So this is what's people's mindset going in when they're saying that he's the GOAT. We're not saying that, statistically he's right there and blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're saying, but we're projecting where at the end of it all, he is the GOAT. If Mahomes retires, if he wins the Super Bowl and then retires, he's not the GOAT. If he has this three-peat and then gets 1 more ring, I think, and he plays another, 10, 9, 10 years, he'll have the stats to start accumulating, and then, yeah, he'll be the GOAT. That's my personal opinion. But that's where people's mindset and context comes in.
If they want to say he's on pace to it or they think he'll be the GOAT, that's a different story. But calling him the GOAT already, just 7 seasons into his career because of 1 feat is ridiculous to me. When you look at both resumes, like he's only just about a little more than halfway there. Even if he wins this Super Bowl, even if he wins it, he's a little more than halfway there. So you can't say he's the GOAT yet.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I just think people are projecting. I think people are saying, okay, there's 0 chance Mahomes never makes it back to a Super Bowl. So even if he gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like if he gets any more, I think that will solidify him as the GOAT. If he gets, obviously the accolades have to start matching up. If he gets a severe injury or whatever, that's different. But I think I think most people are projecting. People like Nick Wright and others think that if he gets this three-peat and then retires, he walks away as the GOAT. I don't think that. I think he walks away as the BOAT, the best to ever do it. I think some people still argue Aaron Rodgers right now because uh because we're arguing best. We're not arguing the GOAT, right? But if you're arguing, the best, I think a three-peat would solidify that. No questions asked. But I think in terms of being the GOAT, I think he has more work to do.
Yeah, he has a lot, bro. Because even if he wins it, assuming he wins it, he's a little more than halfway there.
Like some people are counting the three-peat basically as a double ring. So what people are saying is, if he three-peats, it's worth two rings, which I kind of agree with. I'm not gonna lie. So like because it's way harder to three-peat than it is to win a Super Bowl. So I think it's got to be worth more than one Super Bowl if you three-peat. Like at least to me personally, like winning a three-peating, like that's a lot harder than winning just one in a regular random year. So I do think you do have to get some credit for three-peating. So a lot of people are saying you count it as two. So if Mahomes ends with six, you can make the argument, I would count the three-peat as a double ring, bro. I kind of do agree with that.
No, I don't. At the end of the day, bro, he's gonna have four. Yeah, sure. Four Super Bowls, good. Three-peating, good. At the end of the day, it's still worth the same amount as any other ring. Literally, it's still worth the same amount. When you go to his accolade, it's gonna say four-time Super Bowl champion. It's not gonna say five times because he three-peated. It's gonna say four times. So the ring has
That's
the same
predictions,
value.
guys.
The ring has the same value as any other ring one, and
You
that's
see,
assuming he wins it.
you see, Pete predicted it, bro. He said when you look at his resume, it's gonna say four-time Super Bowl champion. You see, Pete knows who's gonna win. Pete
Well,
knows.
yeah, I'm saying if
He
he
knows.
three-peats, because the argument is if he three-peats, because people are saying if he three-peats, he's the GOAT. That's the argument.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm assuming if he three-peats, it's gonna say four-time Super Bowl champion. It's not gonna say no, he has five rings. This was a three-peat. Like it's not gonna say that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, guys, we'll move on. It was a massive and a long show for you guys, 2 hour show, man. Dom DeMarco for us, man. Before we get out of here, guys, I'm gonna remind you to like and subscribe. Help us to impact and to reach as many people as possible. With in addition to that, guys, follow me on YouTube and Rumble at Kurt's Philosophy if you are interested in the world's deepest, darkest secrets. And guys, go follow us on Rumble right now. We're going to be debating, or not really debating because we're on the same page, but talking about, we can say his name on YouTube, Donald Trump and what he's been up to. Because I'm not going to lie, guys, who could have predicted it? I'm trying to think. I was saying this in one of our first shows. I wish we still had it on YouTube. I was saying it during our first show. I think I said it. So we're gonna talk all about it, guys. So definitely go check us out on Rumble, guys. At Just Keep Up Podcast on Rumble and at Kurt's Philosophy on Rumble as well. I'm gonna post it there as well. So guys, check us out there, and then we'll talk to you guys again on Monday, guys. All right, guys. Peace.